Conquer Any Fear with Peter Feza.
My friend, do you want to know how to be courageous? Do you want to know how to be courageous? Do you want to know the real secret to being courageous? I've dedicated 3 years of I've been a coach for over 11 years, but I've dedicated the last 3 years of my life to truly trying to figure out what it means to be courageous, to have courage, to not be stopped by fear. And why? Because I'd lived in fear my whole freaking life. So I dedicated my life to learning how to be fearless and to have courage. So today what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you the secret. If I had to talk to myself and say, okay, Peter, 4 years ago, here's the secret to being courageous. This is the secret. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you, but it doesn't mean you're gonna like it if you don't know it, all right? I'm gonna give you the medicine perhaps that you need, maybe you don't want, but it's gonna change your life, so just be present to that. If you didn't see my previous video on the number 1 rule to conquering fear, I'm just gonna give you a quick recap. If you haven't seen it, go see it, but here's a recap. The number 1 rule to conquering fear is to understand it in the beginning, because to be fearless is to be dead or to have physical brain damage. So if you're looking to be fearless and you're human, you're gonna have to wait till you're dead, because it's hardwired into our DNA. And our brain is constantly looking for threats to our safety to save our lives. This happiness thing is a new thing. We're hardwired for survival. So knowing those types of things and knowing that our worrying there is in our brain is there to inspire action, all of these things that are physically going on in the brain, then we can apply it to what courage means. Now, when I first came in contact to this information, I was reading literally hundreds of books on the subject because I was hungry to get rid of my fear. Fear had been preventing me from living my dream of being a filmmaker, of having my dream business and really making the money that I wanted, which I have those things now, and fear stopped me. And the day that everything changed is the day I learned what I'm about to tell you. So I was reading this book by Susan Jeffers. She's a fear expert, or was, she passed away. She's amazing, was amazing. And I was reading this book, and I got to this one page, and it changed my life, and it kind of peed me off a little bit. It was the next puzzle in the piece of the puzzle that I needed. When it comes to the people that we revere, when it comes to the most successful people that ever lived, when it comes to the people that we study in history books, the people that we think that are, quote, great, the geniuses of the world, the people that do the most amazing things, when it comes to those people, what separates them from us ordinary people, and how can we have access to that? It came down to one sentence on one page. They felt the fear and did it anyway. When I read that, I was like, are you kidding me? They felt the fear and did it anyway. If you're anything like me, then you operate on the win-then paradigm. I was always win then. When I'm more confident, then I'm gonna do this thing. When I have the courage, then I'm gonna go talk to this girl. When I have the resources, then I'm gonna start my business. When I feel this, then I'm gonna do that, whatever. And it freaking stopped me. And this is what stops people all the time, and it's unfortunate. Because here's the thing. Courage isn't the lack of fear. Courage is acting in the presence of fear. That when you have fear and you act and you take action, that's when you're courageous. And you're not courageous if you're fearless. There's this story about this young boy, he's walking with his father, and it's a beautiful sunset, and they're talking about life. I added that part. He said, "Father, is a man still brave if he's afraid?" And the father's like, "Son, why, that's the only time a man can be brave." It's having that fear and taking action. That's what truly makes a courageous person. And the thing is that courage is a muscle. So in the beginning, when you're doing little baby courageous things, you're building your courage muscle. You have to do courage to be courageous. And you're only experiencing the fruit of courage, the fruit of being fearless, when you plant the seed, when you take the action of courage, and never before that. So if we have to take action in the face of fear, what's the number 1 reason why we get stopped in the first place? Well, I'm going to share with you the number 1 fear that humans have when it comes to being stopped before we're actually courageous. H.P. Lovecraft, he's a famed novelist, he says this about the greatest fear known to mankind. The oldest and strong emotion to mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown. This freaks the brain out. Your brain doesn't even know how to handle it. It's the fear of rejection. What if we're rejected? What if we're judged? What if this happens? What if that happens? And this what if muscle in your brain starts working overtime. It's the fear of the unknown. Good things can happen, bad things can happen, but we don't know. So this prevents us. But like Brene Brown's superstar vulnerability lady, she says this about the zone of comfort, remaining in our comfort zone, remaining in that place where we feel safe. She says this is where we feel like we have the most amount of control, where we minimize risk and we minimize danger. That's what she says. So what we do is we stay in this zone of comfort, in this place where we can predict the results. And that keeps our brain kind of calm. The problem is that it robs us of our dreams. It robs us of our truest and most awesome potential in life. You see, it's a problem because if we stay in this little box, the greatest relationships are out here, our greatest loves, the life of our dreams, the money that we really want, the things that will really excite us. Those things are on the outside of the box. There's this quote that I love. It says, "The directions to an awesome, adventurous life are written on the outside of your comfort zone." You gotta go outside of your comfort zone to read it. So if that's the case, then how do we handle it? I'm gonna give you 3 tips. I'm gonna give you 3 tips on how to deal with that fear. Because there's going to be fear. If we're gonna live an awesome life, we gotta be able to be with that fear. So the first tip that I'm gonna teach you is something that I do all the time. By the way, there's millions of tips that you can use to minimize the feeling or to reverse our understanding of fear. I'm only gonna give you 3 because these are the ones that I use. Because out of all the things that you use, there's certain tools that resonate with you the most. So here they are. The first one is this: reframe your fear. When you're experiencing fear, there's this quote. It says, "Fear is just excitement without the breath." And when I first heard this, I said, are you kidding me? Reframing fear as excitement? I don't know if you've known this, but if you're experiencing fear, it totally sucks. It feels like death in your body because for your brain, it is. It's trying to get you the hell out of there, and it's not going to feel good. If it's pleasant, then you would stick around. So when I first heard this, I was like, yeah, right. But actually with practice, it's true. I've used this many, many times. Before I go on stage is the big part. Now, I love speaking in front of groups. That's one of my biggest passions in life. But it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be afraid when I do it. And it always happens. I'm super excited, legitly excited before I go speak, but there's 20 minutes where I start going, oh, god dang, this is going to get real in just a second. What if I fail? What if I forget what I'm going to say? What if I'm going to be judged? All of these things, the unknown. So I start to go, okay, I'm starting to feel pumped up, and I'm like, wait a minute. What if I could switch this, reframe the fear, kind of like a kid. A kid is excited for Christmas, right? And their body starts reacting through that excitement. So I start feeling, okay, wow, this rad thing is about to happen. And that's what my body's doing. It's just getting prepared for this rad thing. It's excited. And once I did that enough, I actually started to feel, wow, maybe that could be true. Now there's this underlying current that's like, yeah, right, dude. But the 80% of it's like, all right, this is going to be cool. The second thing that you can do is change your state. So when you start to feel the fear, when you're about to go into the unknown, wherever that unknown is for you, when you're about to do something new and scary, change your state. Here's an example. If I was to say there's a depressed person or a fearful person on the other side of this wall, what do they physically look like? Because fear is physical. It's within the framework of the body. You'd be able to know. You'd be like, okay, their shoulders are hunched forward, their chin is low, their voice is starting to see, you hear my voice is starting to get really low and fearful. They start to cocoon and close up, and they're like, yes, that's what fearful or depressed people look like, perhaps. But what if I asked you on the other side of the wall is a confident person? Now, a confident person, they take up space, right? They expand, they don't contract. My chin automatically started lifting. I started using more of my voice. That's what confident people do. They expand. It's a high vibrational state. And so fear is an energy, and so is confidence. So if you're starting to experience fear, change your physical state. This is what Tony Robbins calls a change of state, your triad. So what I do every single morning is I do this exercise that I'm going to tell you about. Because I'm not fearless. Just the opposite. Every morning I wake up with a healthy amount of fear. Because what I learned years ago is that you feel the fear and you do it anyway. I started making these big projects in my life. So every morning I wake up with a little bit of, holy crap, Peter, seriously, you signed up for that? Like, okay. So in the beginning of every day, before my day starts, within 15 minutes of my day, I put a timer on for 5 minutes. And what I do is I put on music, 2 Steps of Hell on your Pandora. Check it out if you don't know what it is, 2 Steps from Hell. I put that music on and I pump myself up. And I do affirmations, but they're not just words like I'm confident, I'm great, I'm amazing, I'm full of energy and alive and inspired. I say those things, but I say it with emotional conviction. And this emotional conviction, I'm saying it with absolute emotional certainty. I'm just even saying it right now. I'm starting to get pumped up and I'm going around my apartment. I'm confident. I'm filled to the brim with confidence and I'm bursting with energy. Today's going to be great. I'm going to resonate with people. It's going to be powerful. I'm going to change lives. Every day for 5 minutes. And by the end of that, man, I am charged. At the beginning of it, I'm not charged. So I change my state on a daily basis and I create confidence resources that I can use when I'm not in a resourceful state. And I use this before I go and I speak. I use this before I go into a sales presentation or a consultation. I do this when I need that juice, when I'm about to do something unknown. It's fantastic. It's my number one tool. The third thing that I can teach you, the tip on how to overcome your fear when you're going into the unknown, is to reframe your focus on the gain. What do I mean by that? Reframe our focus on the gain. Our brain is wired to look for the loss of things. Oh wow, if we go after that job that would be really lucrative and big, man, I might lose this job. I might lose my house. I might lose my relationship with my husband or my wife, boyfriend or girlfriend. Wow. We're trained, our brain, to look for the loss. But instead, what we can do is we can train our brain to look for the gain. Now, what a lot of people do is if they're feeling the fear and they're experiencing the loss, the worry in your brain, they'll write a list of all of the things that they'll gain. I don't personally do this, but some people do. What I do is I force myself in the beginning of every day or before a scary situation to look for or be grateful for 4 really awesome positive things that will happen if I take action. Now, I'm going to share with you the story, and this is my last story that I'm going to share with you, that illustrates this point so beautifully. It's a heartbreaking story, but it's also a beautiful story too. Lewis and Clark. I didn't think you'd probably say I'd say Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark. We all know who Lewis and Clark is. But in case you didn't, that's the pair that was commissioned by the United States government to cross the country, go into the Pacific Northwest, my hometown, Washington State, and go back and say, wow, we explored this territory. Now, here's the thing. Meriwether Lewis was a manic depressive. Every single day of the expedition, he woke up in a massive amount of fear and depression. And how he refocused himself daily is nothing short of a miracle to me. Because if you've ever experienced depression, I have, it sucks. It's horrible. It's debilitating. And the fact that through 3,700 miles, through man-powered boats, through thunderstorms, through being without food for a certain period of time, having your clothes wet, through all of the resistance, but Native American tribes literally wanting to kill them, being away from your family, just countless obstacles, and to be able to experience that massive amount of fear in the morning and to reframe and to look for the good. Because what is the ultimate prize? When we're going through our unknown and we're going through the hard times, knowing what our why is and what we're going to gain is going to pull us through. That is the biggest thing that we can take from this story. And that's what he did. He said, what is this going to mean for my country? What is this going to mean for the world? If I commit to this, we fulfill this mission and come back. Wow. What is that going to mean? And that's what he did every single day. He refocused his brain on the why, on the ultimate prize. And every single person in the expedition survived. They got back, and the rest is history. And shortly after they got back, he committed suicide. He was that overcome by fear. And it's just sort of like bittersweet, but what I'm taking from that is, what's my why? What is going to carry you through your dreams, through the hardest times? What's going to be a reason that's going to pull you out of that fear? Because we have to pick something that's ultimately more important and more noble. Taking a stand against our fear with something that's going to take us through the dark stuff. So there you have it. Those are my 3 tips. Reframe your fear into excitement. Change your physical state, because fear is physical. It's manifested within the body, and so is confidence. And the last thing is instead of focusing on the loss, focus on the gain, focus on your why, the ultimate prize. Now, this is the second in a 3-part series about fear and how to conquer it. It teaches you how to be courageous, because here's the thing, you can't be courageous unless you have fear. Awesome for fearful people, because we're the most courageous. Hello. But the next installment, what I'm going to teach you is how to conquer your greatest fears in order to have the life of your ultimate dreams. This is the best part. And this one is the one that I love the most. It has the greatest stories, has the most fun, so you don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. I want to let you know that you are nothing short of brilliant and amazing. Don't ever let anybody or anything or any fear stop you from your dream, because you are not given a dream, I believe, without the ability to fulfill that dream. It is your destiny. Conquer any fear, my friend, and make your dreams happen now. If you just saw that video and you liked what you saw and you want to get those videos every single week before anybody else, go to my website at conqueranyfear.com. I'm going to give you free tips, tools, and strategies on how to conquer your fear. Plus, you'll get free weekly videos before anybody else gets them. This is Peter Fazer reminding you to conquer any fear and make your dreams happen